This is part 2 of how I paid off my student loans. The first part was me talking more so about how I manifested it and all about thoughts, beliefs, all of that. Go check it out if you haven't already. But this video is specifically about the work, the actions, the plan, the steps I did to make this happen. And I'm sharing it all in this video. So if you want to be debt free or you're interested in how I became debt free, then keep watching this video. The first thing I did to become debt free was make the decision. Also making sure there's a date or some type of timeline. After I made that commitment, I had to make a plan. Like how the heck am I gonna do this? Partially, it's like I'll figure it out along the way. But other part is like I need something to help. One thing that I did was I went to like the calculators online with like student loan payoff calculator to kind of plug in the numbers to see how much will I need to pay off my debt. So you know what? Let me go back a step before we get into this. Know how much debt you have. I made a list of all of the debt I had. I wrote down the interest rate, how much it was, who it was from, because sometimes you'll have like federal loans, have one at this company, another one at another company. I need it all in one place. I made that list with all of them. I ordered it from highest interest rate, the lowest interest rate, which helps with what method you want to use. So I wanted to do the avalanche method. So some of you may have heard of the snowball method. The snowball method is paying your debt off from smallest amount to largest amount, because the smaller payments you make and you check one off your list, it just makes you feel good, makes you want to continue going. It just gives you like an ego boost. So I didn't want to do that one because that didn't make the most sense to me financially. I was trying to pay off the most in the least amount of time. So I went with the avalanche method. So the avalanche method is you pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first, and then you go down the list like that, no matter the amount. So an example, you have two $2,000 debts. One is 3.5 interest, another is 1.2 interest. I would pay the 3.5 one. And let's say it's a 4,000 3.5 interest loan, a 2,000 3.5 interest loan. I'm paying the 4,000 one because it's the highest amount, but it has the same interest rate as the 2,000. I was trying to save the most money. I'm not trying to pay additional interest for no reason, and I feel like that's basically what happens with the snowball method. I'm trying to save the most money, and I am a disciplined person sometimes. When it comes to my goals, I'm more disciplined. So I knew that that strategy would work best for me because I wanted to save the most. If you do the avalanche method, it's going to take longer for you to get rid of a loan, for a loan to be fully paid off, because more than likely you're starting off with your highest amount and your highest interest rate, and that's going to take time. Like, you're not going to see a fast loan payoff, and that can discourage some people. And I'm gonna be honest, it did discourage me for a little bit. It's like, dang, I'm still paying on this one loan that's taking forever. Towards the end, with the avalanche method, the end is gonna go more quicker. It's like, oh, $1,000 debt done, because you was just spending months on $4,000 debt. That is the strategy that I chose. I chose the avalanche method. Some people do a mix of both, but that is what worked for me. That's what I wanted. So going back to the calculator, because you need that information before you start putting it in a calculator. So the online calculator, they give you like an estimate, provide your interest rate, provide how much debt you have, provide that type of information to kind of figure out how long it will take you to pay off your debt. When you put it in a calculator, it's going to let you know how much you need to pay each month to reach debt freedom by a certain date. Once I plugged in those numbers, I was like, okay, that's kind of a challenge, but I think that will be doable. So that helps with deciding how long it will take and how much you're able to pay each month. If you're only able to pay a certain amount, it'll show you, okay, how long that will take. If you're going to pay that certain amount, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, it'll tell you. You can play with the numbers and have different scenarios. Another thing you want to do when becoming debt free and how I paid off my debt is After I knew the number of debt that I had to make sure that I had a job that paid more than that debt. No matter what type of debt you have, after you calculate everything, one of your main goals needs to be having your salary, your job, being paid more than whatever your debt is. Why? Because it is going to help you actually pay off that principal balance. And that is what you're focusing on, because if you're paying interest, you're never going to get to the principal balance if you're still paying interest. It's like you're not knocking off things. And one thing that people do is pay interest forever, so they never get to the principal balance. So that's really important. And if you're not able to do that, I suggest your own business or like side hustles. People do different things to supplement their income. I didn't do side hustles, even though I recommend it, because it just didn't work out for me. So I basically just relied on my 9-to-5 job to pay it off, and saving and budgeting, all of that stuff, which I talk about on my channel, so you can go check out those videos. I also create a budget. That's one thing I did. You need a budget. Your budget is basically your money plan. So your budget helps you decide how much you're able to pay towards your student loan debt, how much extra you have to pay for that after all of your needs is calculated. I made me a budget. I put me a line item of debt. I added up all of my income, all of my expenses, and seeing how much I had left over. I didn't put it all towards debt. The majority of it went to debt, but I had a little wiggle room for like play money, eating out money, having fun money. It was small, but it was workable. So you want to make sure you have that, because just paying off debt and not having fun doesn't sound fun, and I'm gonna get to that more later. Yeah, just making sure when you have your budget, you're able to buy clothes or go out to eat sometimes or something, and still have money for your debt. That's going to get you to debt freedom. Another thing I did, decide a certain amount that I want to put towards the debt every month. And once I decided that amount, I faithfully, every check, I had a certain amount that I took out specifically for student loans. Sometimes I was off, sometimes I spent the payment. That was very rare though, if I needed to. Or sometimes I didn't do the whole payment, but the majority of the time I had that same payment sent to student loans or put in my savings account so it can go to student loans later. If you can't do the whole payment, do some of it. That's better than nothing. There are so many different ways that people get debt free. If you want to be debt free, I recommend making it fit your situation and don't have excuses, because it's easy for us all to have excuses. An example, let's say I want to be debt free and I'm preparing my budget and my plan, and I watch another person who's debt free, and she said that she lived at home with her family and that's how she became debt free. I can look at her and just like, wow, this can't happen for me. She lives with her parents. She ain't gotta pay no rent. Of course she's debt free. Like, I could easily say that, but my situation is different because I don't have her situation. I think that can't be me, but that's you making an excuse. You can make it work with your situation. You can make it work with however much you're making, wherever you live. You change things so it fits your situation. So going back from her living with her parents, so I'm thinking, of course she can pay off debt, she can save all this money. I don't have that luxury where I can live with my parents. I have to pay rent. So I had to factor that into my budget. Like, okay, don't have extra funds like the girl, but I can still be debt free. I can make it work somehow, some way. And just letting you know, you can make it work some way. If your situation doesn't fit mine, like, make your situation work. Everyone have totally different scenarios and totally different lives. You can make it happen. One thing that I did is I lived below my means and I avoided lifestyle inflation. If I'm trying to pay off student loan debt, I want to live within or below my means. This wasn't that difficult for me because where I come from, like, I come from not having a lot. So now that I can get a lot, it's like I'm so used to not having a lot. So it's not that hard, live within or below my means because I'm at a different level than before. And I grew up low income. If that's you too, then you know how it is. And if that's not you, then it may be more challenging. But like I said, no excuses. You can do anything you put your mind mine too. Like, my life was still an upgrade, even with me putting all my money towards debt, because I was used to not having a lot. I didn't go out and do a whole bunch of big purchases. I didn't go out and buy a brand new car. I didn't go on crazy vacations. I didn't splurge on buying a house or something. The only thing I really had to spend money on was rent, because I needed a place to live. And even with rent, I made something really affordable, and it got to the point where I moved. If you guys watch my videos, you can see like my apartment is different from my last apartment, but I moved because the rent was cheaper than my previous rent, and I'm like, I'm trying to pay off debt, so how can I cut back? Housing is your biggest expense, so that's where I look to. I'm like, hey, if I can decrease my rent, then this will help me reach my goal a little bit faster. So that's what I did. I said, hey, it's time to move. Live below your means when it comes to groceries, transportation, clothes. I'm not a big materialistic person, so that made it easy too. Like, I'm not the person that's like, oh, I need the latest fashion, I need the latest gadget. I don't know if it will be me, but at this point in my life, like, I value experiences more than material things. So if I was to splurge, it would probably be on vacation. Living below your means is very important. Knowing when to say no. If your friends and your family trying to go somewhere and you know you ain't got it, don't pretend. Don't act like you got it. So being patient, you guys, with yourself. I was patient with myself when I fell off. I was patient with myself when it got difficult, when I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, when it's just like, but I want to buy this, I want to buy that, and then it's just like, you're trying to be debt free, girl, like, what are you doing? Sometimes, you know, I did buy what I wanted to. Small luxuries. Luxury means different things to different people. Buying me a vanilla candle, that's a luxury to me, because I love candles. I put all of my extra money towards debt. If I got a bonus at work, that went to debt. If I got a tax refund, that went to debt. Stimulus checks. All of the stimulus checks went to debt. If I found some money, went to debt. All extra money went to debt, because you were fine without it. You are definitely going to be fine without it. Did it hurt sometimes? The stimulus hurt just a little bit, but I was grateful to still have my job during a pandemic. So that's another thing that helped me be debt free. I made this goal before all the 2020 nonsense, and it actually helped me save more, because, you know, we weren't going places, we weren't doing things, so it helped me save. Like, sometimes I'll take some money from that, but depending on the situation, I'll be like, oh, I just want to take like a little bit from that extra money for myself. I did that probably once or twice, but the majority of the time it went straight to debt. I was like, ooh, I'm about to pay off a loan with this. I used a lot of resources, read a lot of personal finance books. If you've been on my channel, you know I like personal finance. Watching personal finance YouTube videos, just learning what are people doing, how are they achieving these goals, and just following what they did and making it my own. So I had Facebook groups I was a part of. There was just so much resource and support out there to help you. I joined the Live Richer Academy. If you haven't heard of that or heard of the Budgetnista, go look that up. Great resource. Black women out here doing things, getting their finances together, their credit together. That's where I learned that. I have a credit video that needs to be updated. That's where I learned a lot of what I know. I would actually say it's a combined effort of a whole bunch of things, of books, resources, research, groups, all of that help with my knowledge, that's helping me with my knowledge generally, with financial literacy, with credit and investing and paying off student loans, because it's a lot. This is just one part of it. Paying off your debt, paying off your student loan, getting rid of it. Because I didn't have any high interest debt, and that is more so credit cards, car loans, that would be the first thing I would pay off if I had that, and then I would tackle the student loans. But in this situation, I didn't have that debt, thankfully, so I was able to just tackle the student loan. If you have high interest debt, you want to pay that off first because that's going to cost you the most money. If you have something that's 22% interest compared to your student loans that's 4% interest, you want to pay that 22% interest. Some people also talk about whether you should invest and pay off debt at the same time or do one before the other. I'm thinking about making a video about that, but that is something that came up during my debt-free journey. So you have to make that decision as well. So another thing is student loan consolidation. I had to look at my options. That's another thing I did. You know, debt-free programs, all of that. What was the best option for me? And after I looked at all the options, seeing was I eligible for certain things, seeing would this be the best thing for me to do. What I looked into, I didn't find anything that fit my situation. I could have done more research, but from what I researched, I didn't find anything. I know there are programs out there for like buying a home, like people will pay your student loans if you buy a home, but of course you know they have like certain conditions, other information, like you have to stay there for a certain amount of time or all of this. Those things just didn't fit my situation. With debt consolidation and getting your loans like switched over for lower interest, I wanted to take advantage of those resources that federal student loans provide you versus private loans. They give you like more help, you know, if you can't pay, as opposed to a private loan. Like maybe they'll give you a lower interest rate if they put everything together, but if you default, if you don't have enough money, then you're in trouble. As opposed to federal student loans, they say, hey, you can get on an income repayment plan, you can do forbearance, you can do all these other options if you can't pay it. So I wanted to be able to have that option. That's something to look for if you're trying to be debt free, is just exploring all of your options, taking a look at what else is out there. How else can you be debt free? How else you pay off your debt? Can you get help from people? Can you pay it faster? So just looking at those things is important. This brings up student loan forgiveness. All the scammers were calling me, talking about, we'll pay off your debt, blah, 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 program. They were lying. I know they were lying. But anyway, paying off student loan debt in a president. We were sold that dream, and I made this goal before that announcement. I want to mention that. And once I heard that announcement, like, oh, getting rid of all of our student loans, I'm like, cool, that sounds nice. So I made a strategy to only pay up to a certain amount. I'm like, we may get student loan forgiveness, but because I was taking so long and I was reading blogs, all type of stuff, trying to see what direction we're going, I realized I am hitting this goal with or without the government. Like, if they help, cool. If they don't, hey, I was doing this anyway, so forget y'all. And I had a certain timeline, and no matter what, I wanted it to be done within that timeline. Definitely think about what you want and what fits your situation, because hey, I could wake up tomorrow and they can say all student loans are paid, and it's like, oh, that's good for you, but me, I'm probably gonna feel salty a little bit, but at the same time, I'm proud of myself. You know, one thing that I pride myself on is I make big goals and I achieve them. It helps me with my confidence, because it shows me that no matter what, I can achieve what I want to achieve. Like, no goal is too big. If I did this, I could do that. If I did this, just imagine all the things that I can do, you know, because you learn so much in this process, which reminds me to enjoy the journey. Enjoy your debt-free journey. Learn, experience it, be in it. Don't be so caught up on the end goal. Of course, the end goal is going to be amazing, but just being proud of yourself along the way, being proud that you saved this much, being proud that you paid off that one debt, being proud that you're making progress, just being in that moment. And, you know, not looking at how far you have to go, but just the little steps matter. So being aware of that. For some people, they take it to the extreme with debt freedom and sacrificing things. I was serious. I sacrificed things, but at the same time, I made sure it worked for me and it would make me happy at the end of the day, because I wasn't willing to sacrifice not having fun at all, not eating out at all. I limited it a lot, but I was able to still do fun things every now and then while paying off debt, because I knew if I really tried to be that extreme, then I probably wouldn't have stuck to it. I probably would have gave up and splurged and all kind of things, because when it gets to that point where it's not sustainable, then it becomes an issue. So make sure with whatever you're doing, whatever budget you put, whatever things that you plan to do to be debt free, make sure it is sustainable and it's something you can do. Like, you're going to be uncomfortable at times. I was uncomfortable at times, but I made it work. In all honesty, I could have been debt free sooner if I did take it to the extreme, but there were certain things I just wasn't willing to negotiate on, certain things I just didn't want to cut back on. I accepted that it would probably take me a little bit longer if I continue doing certain things or not doing certain things. I found peace with that, and I was like, you know, I want to enjoy life at the same time. It's different for everyone. And speaking of enjoying life, y'all, I didn't go on no vacations. No vacations at all during my debt-free journey. You can go on them if you want to, but you know, limit and budget depending on your goals. Me, I said no. I said debt freedom is more important to me. I said I'm going to be able to travel later. I know I will, but do what's best for you. I felt like I'm going to be able to travel when I'm debt free, and I would rather travel knowing that I don't got to pay nobody, knowing that this money is mine, really mine. Having a debt free tracker is very important so you can see your progress. I made my own. They have some online, they have printouts, all type of things you can do just to show your progress, and you can just check the box off or fill something in just to see your progress. You want to keep track of that. You are paying things off, you want to do a little dance, you know, feel yourself, congratulate yourself, move on to the next debt. When I experienced challenges, sometimes I fell off and I had to recalculate, like, okay, what can I do now? What can I save on? What can I do for this budget to make up for what I did last month? Take small steps and break up the goal and just work on it. It becomes a habit over time. Like, you'll get so used to the same payments, you'll get so used to putting your extra payments towards that, you'll get used to it over time. Something that also helped is I saw it every day. I thought about it almost every day. Debt freedom. I had my debt free tracker. I put it on my goals list. Like, this was something that was front of mind. This is something that I knew I was working on and working toward. So having a way where you can just be reminded that this is your goal, don't forget about it, keep working towards it. That's what I did. Well, that's the end of my video. If you enjoyed this video and you found value in it, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.